Really, the only platform this is not a problem with, and I don't know how much longer this is going to be the case, honestly, is GOG.
Saw this tweet the other day, and this was amazing. This is from Films at Home over on X. And he says, this is why physical media matters. Apparently, play does have its limit. This is from the PlayStation Store saying, dear PlayStation customer, as of December 31st, due to our content licensing arrangements with content providers, you will no longer be able to watch any of your previously purchased Discovery content, and the content will be removed from your video library. Click here to see a full list of attached titles that will no longer be supported. We sincerely thank you for your continued support. So that's from the PlayStation Store. So even though you bought it, do you really actually own it? I can literally feel dude right now over on Rumble typing, this is why I only have physical items. I can just feel it coming right now. Yeah. But yes, this was a pretty big story over the weekend. Obviously, let's open it up broader. Razor, we've talked about this multiple times. Oh, yeah. This is more of a licensing issue than a Sony saying, hey, you can't have this anymore. But
the still issue goes is platform. It's appropriate. It's called a cloud because it has no fucking substance, right? Like if you stood on it, you would fall the fuck through it. You don't own anything that's in a fucking cloud that you downloaded from a cloud. You absolutely don't. These are glorified rentals. Let's call them what they are. These are glorified rentals. You buy a game off Steam, it's a rental. If they want to take that down, they can do it. If they want to ban your account, you lose all those games. Right? Like this has happened. This happens on Microsoft Xbox Live. Sorry, I wanted to call it Microsoft Network. It happens on Xbox Live. It happens on PSN. It's absolutely happened before. I do feel like we're headed toward, though, a situation where someone really, really prominent gets screwed over by this, and then it's going to be as much of a shit stink as some people have raised. I feel like we're going to have our kind of this is Sparta moment, like down the road with this. It's kind of unavoidable. I've been bugling the call for this for years, though.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because this is from Jared Shapiro at Get Fit with Jared. Good, over on X. He says this is one of those rare times when government regulation should step in. If licenses are allowed to expire for quote unquote purchases of digital content, then the seller should be required to provide a full refund or credit of the original cost paid. And I think there's a lot to this statement. He goes in a little bit deeper here, but the idea of receiving some sort of credit after you've quote unquote bought something and it just goes away. There absolutely should be action here. 100%.
And you probably, if you sued them, you could. I would imagine it's probably actionable. But the thing is, they probably have terms of service in place. So even a regulation wouldn't really forestall that. So right. That's kind of the issue. You'd sort of be making one of those kind of like when they banned loot boxes in Belgium, like nothing came of that. Absolutely nothing came of it. It's just pointless. It got a bunch of politicians paid. So that's kind of the issue, really, is they probably have a bunch of terms and services and terms of service, fine print in there that says, hey, by the way, this is a fucking rental. You don't really
right. Now, I think the big issue with me is why would you say buy if you don't actually own it? And for me, it's the terminology of if you want to call it what's that?
To trick customers. That's
right.
All. They want your money.
Yep.
And if you were to call it maybe a long-term rental or something instead of a purchase, or right. I think that makes way more sense for sure. But there's a list on the PlayStation website of all the different items, all the different digital items, the things that you could have bought. And I'm going to scroll through this very fast. This is going to be a very fast scroll, but it starts with A. And if I just do a big, long scroll, look at all the different things that you could potentially buy that if you bought this, it's all gone. Look at the tab on the right-hand side. Look at this. This is a ton of stuff. Everything from Dr. Pimple Popper all the way to Whale Wars. So
we have Mythbusters too.
Yeah, I saw Mythbusters in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. 19 Kids and Counting. So if you have the entire 5th season of 19 Kids and Counting, no longer will you have it after the 31st. So,
Drat, foiled
Yeah, I know.
again.
Yeah.
Just crazy, man, that they can just take it away. And we've talked about the move from physical to digital. And I've talked many times in the past about how I owned a video game store for a couple of years. And this move has taken longer than I expected, but I saw this move happening many years ago, specifically during the 360 when digital games really became more prevalent.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why I got out of the video game store. I probably got out of it early, a little too early, but I'd rather get out of it early before it's too late, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I got out of it.
Well, look at the absolute state of GameStop. I don't even give them another 5 years. You know what I mean? Like they're toast. So
yeah, it's amazing to see how these companies and how these outlets, specifically the small shops, the mom and pops, how they're going to try to survive through this. Because the reality is, it goes back to when you're selling a digital item, you're selling nothing. You're selling data, right? The only way these mom and pop stores survive is through used game sales, because they come in, they buy it for 10, they sell it for 40, right? And that's where your profit margin is, because selling new games is a joke. You make $5 and you got to have an inventory of 10 of them. So you got to sell, 10 you got to sell them all just to make any money.
Yeah.
It's an absolute joke. So
it was one thing when GameStop had that really broad business model where it was like, yeah, we sell pre-orders and stuff, but we've also got, hey, there's a wall of Nintendo 64 games for $1.50 a piece. You know what I mean? And you could walk out with an armload, and those things were really what's drawing you to the store. But then while you're there, hey, look at that new thing that's coming out. I might pick that up. That was a very, very potent business model, and they pretty much abandoned that after like 2006 or so, right? And sort of paved the way to the absolute murderous decline they're currently suffering.
Yes. So, Blabs, you put this out here. I don't know. This is from Warhammer Dave over on X. Says, this isn't Sony's call. It's WBD, a Warner Brothers Discovery.
Yes.
Which, yes. PlayStation gamers should be tweeting at the FTC about Warner Brothers Discovery doing this, and tweeting at Warner Brothers Discovery to keep the movies they paid for.
Well, they should definitely raise their voices. And say,
no,
hey,
because
cool.
Licenses are going to get pulled. That's not your issue. Licensing laws are not going to change. Someone who gives a license to somebody and then it expires, that's legal. They take that back.
Correct.
The issue is the platform. The issue is the lack of ownership. and this is a problem for more than just Sony. It's been a documented problem with Xbox Live, as I said, and Steam. And really the only platform this is not a problem with, and I don't know how much longer this is going to be the case, honestly, is GOG. Because you actually get a copy that you can burn to a disc. It is yours. You're not just licensing it or borrowing it.
Yes. Which you clearly would not get, and you have not got on your PlayStation or anything like that. I think that's actually a really, really valuable point. The idea that you can download a copy and have it for your collection because you technically have bought it, but it's a messy situation. And it's not going to get any better, because you're right. Licensing does expire all the time, constantly. That's why you see shows on Netflix come and go. Is there's windows of time where you can watch these certain things. So that's exactly what happened here. But I think once you make that purchase, that's once again, it goes back to me. Don't say buy it if you're not actually buying it.
Yeah.
It's like when you buy a house, you're not really buying it. You're just
I think by virtue of that alone, you could possibly have like a false advertising suit or something. If they're calling it buying, that's not really buying. And I think you could prove it's not buying in a court of law pretty easily.
I think that maybe they say purchase instead of own, which there's gray there.
Yeah, maybe you might have a point there, actually.
Yeah, which. Got to get on the legalese hat, because that happens consistently all the time. But what do you think about this? Leave us a comment down below. We read every single one of them. Also, make sure you hit the subscribe button, because you have found your home for common sense in the gaming and entertainment worlds.